All righty, we're going to start on our foam roller today and put on my sweet cards. So we're going to lay along our spine. So I'm going to get my foam roller. And so this adds a little lift. And Audrey, if you don't have the props or whatever, we can also just email me or find me in the message group. And I can send you the link to the recording so you can watch it when you have your foam roller around or whatever. So when I get on my foam roller, I get right on the end. And then you just walk yourself back. And you might even scooch so that your hinder is really close to the edge. And my feet are a little more than hip width apart. I like my stability. Whew, having a hot flash, good times. And I love this for inventory, right? You start to feel your whole body. So there shouldn't be any sharpness or pain. It's a really nice chest opener. But again, that inventory, I can feel my sacrum, where that flat bone at the base of your spine, resting on the foam roller. It adds that pelvic tilt, so it's lengthening your sweet low back. And then I feel my whole spine up to the back of my noggin here. I tuck my chin, just tuck it a little bit, and then let it relax. So you're just taking out the slack. And as you settle in, we're going to start to open our arms in a T. So you can always just hang out right on the foam roller without your arms stretched out, or maybe you have a tight shoulder or something. You can always put your arm, like I am, this arm far away from the habata over here, this arm. I got a little bolster under there if I need it, right? So if you need that support, get your pillow or something under there. I feel, again, notice your inventory. I notice my left side in the shoulder area, or the arm itself, is more tight than the right. So just saying hi. We did tic-tac-toe last week. My hips were happy. Got my feet on the ground. Notice your feet. Kind of get grounded as we start our beautiful practice today. And then find your breath. Allow your body to bring your attention to the mat, to the present moment, right here, right with me, you and your body, on this beautiful Saturday. I had a leisurely morning this morning. I read in my book. That's just beautiful. The spacious, a little bit of time. Oh, and I had some more self-care this week. I soaked in the tub just for fun, just to relax. A little lavender. Some self-care this week. Let's find your breath and expand in your chest there, all the way up to that collarbone. Usually bodies are okay on the foam roller. Sometimes it can be kind of firm. But your knees are bent, so low back is in that pelvic tilt, which keeps that from having to brace or overarch. And sometimes if someone is really, really tight, if you're tight in the front of the neck or chest, even in the shoulders, it can be uncomfortable on your head or neck because it's having you tilt back farther than that tissue and fascia wants you to go. So every now and then you might, if that's you, you can always put a little something, something under your head, like a folded towel, and just like an inch even. A tiny inch will shift that stretch, and it'll be more of a traction as opposed to your chin sky high, like your head's falling off a cliff, right? Lengthening, that beautiful traction starts to create space between the vertebrae. Notice where your body's tight. And on your next breath, just expand and breathe into that area of tightness. You're expanding the tissue like you're blowing up a balloon. So expanding from the inside out. We're going to add that cervical piece. So just give it another minute or so. Not that long. Let's do 30 seconds. Time. 30 seconds or so. We're always listening to your body. So we're letting time do the work. Just finding those edges. Allowing the fascia to melt and soften. You're welcome to stay right on that foam roller like this. I'm going to add a neck piece. So I'm going to go ear to shoulder. If you're tired of that foam roller, you could always do this seated. You're going to bring your head, again, ear to shoulder. And notice my head is still supported by the foam roller. And using that to create some space down my neck. So I went ear to shoulder. Find that spot where it's stretching. You're right in there, but you're able to hold it without bracing. And bracing might look like your increased heart rate. You catch your brain thinking, the voices saying, oh my God, when are we going to be done with this stretch? So just back off a little bit if that ever shows up for you. And from this ear to shoulder place, you can then add, you can look around, notice where you get your stretch this morning. But from here, you can then turn your head, so rotate towards the foam roller, like I'm going to look at the foam roller. It just adds a different dimension. One isn't better than the other. You can just kind of look around. So I think I'm just doing my ear to shoulder. That's where my magic is today. So we're camping out. Notice your sacrum again as you get settled into this cervical stretch. Hello, neck. So I notice my sacrum grounding into my body, allowing that stretch locally in my neck, but I'm feeling it down my whole spine, that support. And just breathe. You get a little slack and your body might fall into a little more space. We're not bobbing, we're not bouncing, we're certainly not forcing. Fascia is like sheaths of tissue. We have elastin, which is quite bandy, and like a spider web, all those different uh, pieces of the web, strings, strands. What would the word be? Elastin, but you get that kind of visual. And then there's sheaths of fascia, like plastic wrap. It's all connected. I just got a little more slack, so my head kind of moved a little bit without me forcing. And then I found, then it stopped. That's where that tightness is. You can always shift your arms if you need to, if they're tired of that. But notice this. Imagine like the fascia can be like a tight sleeve down your arm, all the way down to your fingertips. It's your superhuman suit. So we want that to be able to slide and glide all those layers of tissue on top of each other. Your shock absorption. I've noticed my upper cervical that at my neck has been getting tight, and I imagine, like all of us, just wearing masks compresses that area. You know, even our TMJ, your jaw there. So I've just been noticing that I might up my attention on my upper spine there, on the in my neck. Creating space, undoing my week, right? As we go out and about and have your mask on and get home, and you can add this beautiful stretch. It reaches up through the neck and into the jaw. Winter too, it's a little colder, right? So we start to bring our shoulders in when we're cold. So just undo your day or your week. This is a good one for that. Soften your jaw. Just another little couple breaths here. Just allowing yourself to let go. And as you climb out, I'm going to put my hand on top of my head. So whichever one works for you. I'm going to use my hand to put my head back on the foam roller. So I don't have to engage and make all these scalenes and the muscle work so hard. I just got them to soften and open up, right? So we just allow that to be nice and easy. We're going to go to the other side. So ear to shoulder whenever you're ready. If you need a break or you need to come off that foam roller, feel free to listen to your body. So I'm going ear to shoulder. I found the tight spot. Hello. And again, if you can stay right there, ear to shoulder, you can see my head is still supported on the foam roller. I'm just hanging off the side. Notice your sacrum, let your pelvis be heavy. And from this point, again, you can test the waters. You can add even a turn where you look towards your foam roller. And my, hello, there's my stretch. Feel your edge, and that's where you wait. Woo that fascia. Notice that stretch. You might feel it down the arm or at different areas along your throat or neck, or like me, I'm feeling it into my jaw. Heaven. Oh, so good. Use your breath to find those tight spots. Soften your shoulders. Breathe and feel. Just another couple breaths here. Two to 5 minutes in all of your stretches if you're looking for a real change in that tissue. So it takes that long for the tissue to literally start to change structure, like ice into water. So there's some beautiful articles if you're a data person. I love data. I am in love with fascia. So it has this piezoelectric phenomenon. It's amazing. And they say, oh my God, get off the foam roller. Here we go. So dismount. You're just going to let your hips roll off and land. And then just shimmy off of that roller. This is the bliss part. Yay. Let's sashay our knees back and forth. Just feel your body. Let it feel good. Whatever your body wants to do. We're just kind of integrating. We're going to use our quantum ball next. So if you have your smaller ball, or again, you can use a rolled up towel. We're just going to go ball under the sacrum. Let's bring it home. So I'm going to bridge up. My sacrum is that flat bone at the base of my spine, and my knees are going to be bent. So I'm going to put the ball, or again, if you have a rolled up towel, you can do that as well. So you're going to bridge up and put the ball underneath. And this, again, is going to exaggerate that pelvic tilt. So imagine my hip bones here rolling back. You don't have to actively do that, but that's what they're up to. And it should feel like it's helping you tuck your tail feathers without actually having to work at it. If your prop is too high, it'll add this arch. Not what we're looking for, right? We want that pelvic tilt. We're lengthening the spine. And also imagine that compression on your sacrum. The sacrum has so much subtle movement. Could go side to side. Like imagine it's just suspended in ligaments and fascia. And so it has these very subtle movements as part of your pelvis. So it's really, when you work on your pelvis and you work on your sacrum, you're adding that whole freedom of movement in your gait, right? It's going to help you walk. It's going to help you have a little shake with your fries. Add that mobility in your low back. Find your breath. Tuck your chin a little bit and then let it be floppy. Just take out the slack and then just melt and soften into the floor. Little inventory there. Do you feel one side of your back more than the other maybe? Is it a little tight or a little bit of a tug? This one often is quite subtle, but very productive. Great for low back pain. You're allowing a little traction, so some space between the vertebrae. We'll be doing ball in the belly later to say hi to the front of the back. But this sacral compression works quite locally as well as lengthening, again, that whole spine. I'm going to stay on my ball and bring my knees to my chest one at a time. You're welcome to do this just flat on the floor. You might even need to move your ball if it shifts. It's going to exaggerate, again, that lengthening of the spine. So I'm just bringing my knees to the chest. You could always grab underneath your knees there. Love, love, love this class. I always find spots I didn't even know were tight. And I go, oh yeah, I did when I was working or whatever. Just these little things you get to catch your self-care here on the mat. Body's contracting here in the front and lengthening down the back. You might feel a stretch on one side more than the other. You might just notice it and feel your hip or part of your back. Soften your hips. Your knees can be more open. And pick a knee, any knee. We're going to hold one leg towards our belly and allow the other leg to go straight. So I'm going to just start with it bent. Again, you can be doing this straight on the floor if you want without your prop. And from here, you can let that leg slide straightish, right? We're opening up that hip flexor. I'm on the ball, which is exaggerating what we're up to here. My knee is bent and towards my chest, which is going to protect my low back. It's not arching the back. Usually it's okay either way, but I love when we expand and extend on one side and contract on the other. So important for the hips and your pelvis for all the daily types of movement that we do. We want that mobility. And you can always grasp behind your knee or do this beautiful stretch without your prop. And let that leg that's straight, let it be floppy. So it's not an active stretch. Sometimes you can add what we refer to as telescoping and kind of reaching into that stretch. That can show up for you. That is all dandy. But in general, we're learning how to let the body go. Just allow the ball to do the work, the time, right? Did lots of compression in the glutes. Last week we did tic-tac-toe. As I come out of that one, I'm going to gently drag my heel. And then I'm going to bring that knee back to my chest. And whenever you're ready, we're going to extend that opposite leg. So I'm going to put my foot down first. Should all feel okay, then let it kind of elongate. I'm still on my ball. You can always take that out. This side I feel a little less balanced. Kind of interesting. But just note it. Just notice and say hi. Do your little inventory. See if you're holding anywhere. And I just noticed I was holding in my belly a little bit. In that opposite hip, the one that is not straight. And breathe into any tight spots that you have. Again, expanding from the inside out. Hello, fascia. So if you're doing your own stretching on your own, and say you're in a one of the techniques and you notice it pulling in a specific area, say in your glute, then that would be a great place for compression, right? You're always just following your body. Pain is just your body asking for attention. So we just get curious and look around and see what is up. We do compression, elongation, or suspension, right? In between those three options, and you've got your different props that you can use for compression or stretch. So I'm going to bring that straight leg, bend that knee, and bring it to your chest. Hug your knees a little bit. And come off that prop if you're still on it. Hoot nanny. And just let your knees do tiny little circles or whatever feels good for you. A little pressure on my sacrum there. Wiggle your ankles if you want. Circle clockwise and counterclockwise. And we're going to grab our ball and do ball between the shoulder blades. So feel free to move a little bit. Let your legs windshield wiper back and forth. And as we do ball between the shoulder blades, which again could be a folded up towel, and you're gonna waterfall off this ball. And if it's too much stretch on your neck, then you can soften or use a smaller prop between your shoulder blades, or you can put a little something under your head. Your noggin. All right, look at that. I'm just kind of guessing. I'm going right between my shoulder blades. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm keeping my knees bent because you know how I love my pelvis in a pelvic tilt. It's going to lift your rib cage up. And then you just waterfall off that ball. This is the part, if there's too much stretch, which sometimes we're tight, or man, if you had a big old week on the computer this week doing some Zooming, then you can use that folded up towel and just put a little bit of that under the back of your head. So I don't want to fill up my space between my neck. You don't want a big old pillow there. You could even put a book behind your head. So different than the foam roller because I'm lengthening here in my pelvis and my rib cage is lifted. So we're allowing the thoracic to move differently than the lumbar, exaggerating and letting this stretch, this curve here. And so many of us with what we're up to on the computers or driving, or heck, I've been reading more. I'm like, how do you read where you're not like looking down the whole time? So good times. No big deal. We just undo our day, right? Get on that ball. Hello, body. We got this. So again, you've got that towel under your head if you need it. We're just listening to our body. This is one of those that maybe it's subtle for you, right? A nice stretch, but just allowing the suspension. You have a little compression with that ball between the shoulder blades, but the suspension, I'm reminding my body to open up in the front. Structurally, we're allowing fascia to stretch and regain that elasticity so we're not pulled forward. And notice your low back. Let's let your back sink into the floor. Sometimes we start to kind of hold it or lift it. Just let it be floppy. That makes me feel my neck. So I'm just listening to my body. This week I'm going to put a little bit under my head. And then again, soften my low back. Let your bones be heavy. Really nice. I'm feeling that compression with the ball and the stretch. It's a 2-for-1. So good. We're going to get in the ribs today a little bit. Remember, the whole body is connected. You might feel this in your forehead. All that tissue and fascia is connected from head to toe. It's the time that does the work. Long-term change in that tight tissue. Let your body sink and soften into the mat. Maybe roll off your ball. Yum. I love that one. Windshield wiper again, just kind of wiggle around. Just notice your body. Notice your breath. I'm going to use my tune-up balls next. And if you don't have tune-up balls, they're on Amazon. We've got a link in the Myofascial Stretch Method group, and they're just called tune-up balls, I think. Yoga tune-up. You could find those online. We're going to use them in the back. So we're going to do some rotation in spine. So I'm going to be laying on these balls. If that's too much, guess what? A little swim noodle. I just chopped a swim noodle into a little proportion that I like. So I'm going to have these along my spine. And imagine your vertebrae right in the middle, and all the muscles along the spine are right along those tune-up balls. And what's going to happen is I'm going to have the ball. We're going to do several different places. So the ball will be there, and then we're going to kind of windshield wiper our legs, and we'll find different stretches along there. So I've got my tune-up balls, and I'm going to get my bolster out, or a pillow if you've got it, because if I go this, it might be tight. So I might want a little support as I'm going down, because we hold that stretch. So here's the thing though, when you're using those tune-up balls, I don't want anything feeling pinchy or, ick, right? Yellow light, never red. And you just can go above or below that area, right? That one area might be too much. So I'm on the sacrum. Let's see, I'm going to go higher. Imagine here, I got it. I'm going to show you this way. Here's my lumbar spine. So instead of putting it here, which will arch my low back, I'm going to go up to that lumbar thoracic junction. What that's going to feel like to you is it should feel kind of good. Not arching my back. It does it a little bit, right? It's going to lift it a little bit, but it's not. Let's see. It's a little higher. Does everybody get that? So we're going to go between the shoulder blades as well. So it's below that, right? And not in the arch of my back, but just at the top of my low back. Doesn't have to be exact. Listen to your sweet body. My knees are in a little more than hip width apart. Check it out. How's that area? Find your breath. This might be your spot. You might just hang out here. But what I'm going to do, again, you can use your swim noodle. From here, I'm going to just allow my knees. I'm just going to windshield wiper. We're going to go to both sides. So pick a side and then allow your knees to go to that side. So I feel that up in here, stretching, and then you'll feel the compression where your body is on that ball. I'm going to open up my arms so it doesn't feel like I'm falling over to that side. And I'm looking then, turn away from your knees. If you want to do this on the floor without the balls, that is a great way to do it as well. So you don't even have to have those tune-up balls there. You might not even feel them because of the angle of your body. That's okay. Then you just get your rotation here. And notice, can you soften into the floor there? Melt into that prop. Just be here for a little bit. We're going to just look around the spine for any tight spots. Soften your hips. As I lay here, I'm feeling it closer and closer to my spine along where the tune-up balls are. Starting to feel that stretch. So again, it might not be right on the front end of it. Doesn't have to be in your face, right? Not sharp all the time.
Catch a big breath, catch that wave, and then let that out slowly. My knees are going one direction and my head is turned the opposite. Rotating on that. I like 2 balls. If you're at home too, you can do 2 tennis balls. Those are great. Or use a tennis ball in our series anytime. That's a great prop to have around if you don't have tune-up balls. When I come out of this, I'm going to neutralize my neck. We always sweet as pie to our neck. I'm going to lift that top leg and then the other, and I'm going to add some movement. Nice and slow. I feel, look for the glitches, right? You might feel a little glitchy. I feel glitchy right there. Whew, find your next spot. I'm going to sit there so my knees aren't that bent. Oh, that's magic. Look what I did. So go along your knees, windshield wiper, find anything that might feel glitchy. And if it doesn't, just find a spot. Your whole body needs it. You're good. So I use that bolster to kind of prop up my knees to find that angle where it got stuck, where that glitch was. And I feel, wow, there I really feel both tune-up balls on my spine. I was also tight. You see, I was kind of bracing. So then I noticed that. So then I soften and I feel the compression. So different than before when my knees were all the way to the floor. So again, wherever you feel the stretch or compression is perfect. I feel this on both sides, and on this opposite side, I feel it kind of not shooting, not electrical. We're never going for electrical zippy, zingy stuff, but this just a stretch or a pull. So breathe and melt into those tune-up balls. Longevity, space between the vertebrae, right? All those nerves. So we got the facet joints on the side of the vertebrae. We are creating space, a little elbow room for everything to move without being compressed by tight fascia or tissue. Those discs, when someone gets a bulging disc, it often isn't the impact or whatever, they fell or something. It's that spine was so tight, there was no wiggle room or shock absorption. So that disc squishes out like jelly in a donut. So very, very important just to create space between the vertebrae, right? So we do that in so many different ways in this class, as well as just working locally on the tissue and fascia. So any of our, we're going to end today's class with some traction too. That is a beauty. Again, just creating space. And we're really interconnecting with the nervous system, allowing the body on that primal level to feel safe. Which nowadays, right? Yes. Add some safety. Let's help our bodies get out of fight or flight. So we feel our body on the mat. We soften into the prop or into your stretch and breathe. That is a goodie. All right, we're going to go to the other side. So again, windshield wiper. You might need to break off those balls. So just let me know. I'll break it up after this one. We're going to do the other side. So we're at that thoracolumbar junction. I'm feeling it, so we won't hang out here forever. So I'm going to let it go all the way over. And then I'm opening up my arm on that opposite side, and I'm going to turn and look the other direction. So it's exaggerating just that little bit. It's adding an extra kind of pull in the tissue. This particular stretch with my knees all the way down, I don't feel the compression as much. But as we're laying here, I'm starting to feel a pull in that hip, the hip that I'm turning into. So that's happening because that vertebrae where those balls are stabilized. They can't move, right? The ball stops it. So it's going to rotate below it. We're adding movement specifically in that rotation. And again, if you need a break, you can always just do this stretch without the ball, without the tune-up balls or your prop. Audrey, let me know if you want a myofascial care package. I'll set you up with the links and I can send you a ball and noodle if you want in New York there. Or heck, it's the holidays. Just let me know, you guys. You can give your myofascial tools to your favorite people in your world. We'll hook them up. Wanted to add some movement after our tic-tac-toe session last weekend. So we're just allowing that movement to work its way up the spine. And you come out of this one. We got one more on this side. I'm going to bring that knee up. I'm going to add a little mobility. So I'm going to go back and forth. You can have your knees hip width apart. That'll give you a little more stabilization. I'm feeling that left side. Coming into that. It's starting to soften a little bit. I'm going to add one more on this side. You guys, totally. There we go. So I'm adding rotation. I'm using my bolster. So again, find that glitch. So as you go back and forth, often there'll be a little bit of a glitch where you kind of tighten, like a skip in the record, right? So I feel mine right about there. So I'm going to allow my body to just rest into that bolster. And I feel again more of the compression as opposed to just the elongation. And then soften. I was like all bracing against it. So allow your body to soften into that prop. Let your bones be heavy. Let your head be heavy. And I'm going to move my knee and the next. And then I'm just going to plop over on my side. Move those balls and just lay on your side for a minute. And allow your body to just rest for a second as we do a little inventory. Find your breath. We're going to work our way up to the thoracic with some elongation. So grab your bolster or a big pillow. And we're going to lay on our side. So get your prop. You can even use the foam roller if you want, but I like something a little softer. We're going to rainbow over our prop. So it's going to be in the space between my hip bone and my rib cage. All right, so I'm supported here. You might, if you have neck stuff or your neck is a little chatty, you might need a little pillow for your neck. I'm going to bend my knees towards my belly like a rockette, as opposed to my feet to my bottom. Knees to the belly. I'm up on my elbow, but I won't be for long. Don't worry. So we're going to stretch this top leg out. And it's just aligned with my body. It's not behind me. So my foot is bent. Again, guess what we're doing? We're stabilizing the pelvis and that low back. And from here, I'm going to allow myself to just waterfall. And I've got my head on my arm, so my neck is excited about that. And I'm just allowing that other arm to come up and over. And let's see. There's my beautiful stretch. If you have knee issues or something, this straight leg might be in your attention. So you could always put another something under your leg. So say if you wanted some extra support there, you could put your foam roller. I don't know if we could do that in a way that feels stable, but you get the drift. Something like that. That feels pretty good. Although it's some compression. Christine, you might love that one. Add a little compression to the inside of your adductor, your leg there. Yeah. Just trying to find those spots where I can just really soften and relax. So this is the part where you imagine me or Robin working on your side and opening here, right? So good. And you know, my neck is just fine. I'm going to let it come to the floor, my head. Sometimes when we're on our side, your body might want to float backwards or forwards or backwards. So you can put a ball behind your rump there and catch yourself so that you don't have to work hard. You're not holding on the whole time we're trying to stretch. Your noodle, here's my noodle, look, it's right here. I got all the props. I don't know if that helped. It's a great combo if you give your friend a bolster and a foam roller for Christmas. Any holiday fun because it's Saturday. It's the best. Some lengthening that space. Imagine your rib cage opening like an accordion. And then again, soften. We're going to do Monopoly stretch as well. So we're expanding with a prop, and then we'll engage the shoulder as well. So that is coming up, opening up the body. Allowing, just imagine that kind of like rotation, we're rotating, and then also this lateral movement. So these movements are so subtle, and sometimes we don't do them unless we're reaching for something in the kitchen, right? And then you're like, whoo, feel that pull down your side or whatever. So sometimes that tightness is sneaky. That tune-up ball with the rotation that we did just before this, the technique, you can do that all along your spine. Imagine each vertebrae getting that rotation and movement, or say one level a day, and then the next day you do something a little higher or lower. That's pretty magical. You might feel this elongate in your low back. It's all connected. So gently bring your knee to your chest or match your other knee. I'm going to use this top hand to kind of lift myself up so I can get off that bolster. We're going to stay on your side though, so just kind of shimmy off that bolster. We're going to ease into the Monopoly stretch, same side. So this beautiful stretch, it's quite similar. My knees are towards my belly. And then I'm going to straighten that top leg. This time I'm up on my elbow. This elbow is happy into the shoulder. So if my elbow is too far here, you can see how that's going to stress it out, or out here, not so comfy. So line it up like it's a kickstand. I'm here. And then your rib cage, all of this area that's closest to the floor, just let it ooze down to the floor. So instead of up here, I'm letting my shoulder be soggy, and I just let it squish into the floor. This can be a really, really great stretch. It's very subtle. It also zeroes in on tightness. Again, you might feel it in other areas of your body, but Generally, your attention is on this side that's closest to the floor. And here's that part again where your hip might want to open up. So you just put a little something under your butt back there, and then you don't have to work hard. So I've got my noodle back there kind of supporting me on my side. So again, we start in the side with our knees to our chest, straighten that top leg. You're up on your elbow, and then just let your body ooze into the floor here, creating space between my hip and ribs on the floor side, as well as between the ribs. And I really feel this in my shoulder blade. That was a good one. Hello, shoulder. Not sharp. If you needed to, you could always maybe use a bolster or something to support you. And then you're like, what do I do with my head? You could drop your chin, look it up, that kind of space. We won't be here forever. But just mind that your neck might want to be done with the stretch before your back is. So that trumps anything, right? Oh, I just said that word. So sorry. That is where we're going. Saying hi to the low back. Breathe and feel. A lot of movement today to separate the ribs, the thoracic from the lumbar, and this pelvis here. So we have that independent movement. As we come out of this, we're going to bend that knee so our knees match, and use that top hand to get yourself off that shoulder. Lay on your side. We're going to get to the other side, but take your time getting there. I'm going to rotate a little bit. And then we're going to lay on our opposite side. We're going to use that bolster first, so get your bolster handy. I'm tossing my props today. Okay, so you can just use a big pillow. I've got a noodle or a ball handy if you need some extra support. I'm going to put this bolster between my hip bone and my rib cage. So I'm just allowing this to open up. Top side opening up. So bring your knees to your chest and then extend that top leg. I've got my arm under my head. Seems just happy. If you need a pillow, you can do that as well. And then adding that top arm if you want. And you can always have it down by your side, whatever feels good for you. Oh, I just felt that in my belly. Do you know what? We're not doing ball in the belly today because I'd rather do this traction thing next. That'll be your homework. Oh, I feel this side. This feels great. If you need something to support you on your side, go ahead and put that back there. As you come out of the stretch, bring your arm down, your knee back to your chest. We're going to just float into Monopoly stretch, using that top hand to lift myself up. Lay on your same side. We're up on our elbow. Knees are bent. Bring your knees towards your chest. And then we're going to straighten that top leg here. And this is that part. I'm going to let my body droop to the floor. Notice my elbow and my shoulder are lined up there. And you might feel it. We're stretching this underside here. But for me, I feel that in the top rib cage. Hang on. We have a little house noise that I'm going to ask to quiet down. Mm-hmm. Really nice stretch after that rotation we did. I'm excited. I feel it releasing kind of in that area where I had the tune-up balls for that rotation. Yay. a nice tug in my rib cage right here. It's lovely. Subtle yum. So breathe into those tight spots. Expand from the inside out. Woo that fascia. We're going to sneak into some lumbar traction. So the foam roller and bolster. So I'm going to have you come into a tabletop. Take your time. And let's roll over. You're on your hands and knees. And here, just move around a little bit. Do that elongated child pose. Cat and cow it out. Just a little free for all here. Let your body feel good. Wag your tail feathers. Drop your head. And whenever you're ready to land, we're going to have our bolster. You can use a couple pillows, but we're going to have our foam roller under our hip bones here. And then I put my bolster here. So the biggest thing, you can just use 2 pillows if you want, if you don't have your foam roller, but I want your whole body supported. So if I lift the hips, I don't want my belly dipping down because that'll exaggerate an arch in this area, right? This one is lumbar traction. So I'm going to lay on my foam roller here with my hips and then just melt over my bolster. And then pick a side. You can turn your head to look in any direction. And just a subtle lengthening, right? We did all that work on the sacrum on the front end. Your pelvis here is just tipping over the foam roller here, creating space in your sacroiliac joint. And imagine again that string of beads, your vertebrae are elongating that space, creating space between the beads. So notice my whole body is supported with my bolster and foam roller, or if your pillows are there, just drape over them. If you're on our table at the clinic, we do this a lot with blocks, right? When we put the blocks under your hips, same kind of stretch that we're doing to open up the spine. So we've found this on the mat so we can do it at home. Go ahead and turn your head in the other direction if you are rotated there. breathe and feel. Just stay on your rollers. Stay in that traction. Drink a lot of water today. Gentle movements. And if you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook. Myofascial Stretch Method. We have a Facebook group, so you can ask any questions. There's also some stretches on video there if you want to just find a stretch of the day. My name's Melissa Russell. I'm so glad you joined me. It's great to be with you all.